Good afternoon, and here I am back in Nairobi after being in London for my daughter's graduation, and I apologize for our absence on the podcast, but that was the reason. Sub-Saharan Africa, Tripoli, has only held out as long as it has supposedly because of Turkish support. That's Andrew Koribiko. The GNA is comprised of Muslim Brotherhood fighters and their offshoots who came to power after 2011. Which is why Erdogan supports them so strongly and has a stake in their continued leadership of the country, something that Haftar is adamantly opposed to because he sees his countrymen's collaboration with Turkey as treasonous. Should Turkey suffer highly publicized losses at the hands of Haftar's forces, then it might embolden the country's Cypriot, Greek, Kurdish, separatist and Syrian enemies in its immediate neighborhood if they interpret those developments as a sign of weakness, proving that the Turkish military is just a paper tiger, incapable of properly defending its interests and or defeating its first conventional military adversary in decades. Erdogan is therefore in a classic dilemma, since he's damned if he retreats, but equally damned if he doesn't, and ends up being humiliated by Haftar. It will remain to be seen what ultimately happens, but Turkey is in a very tricky position nowadays and needs to be careful that it doesn't get trapped in the Libyan quagmire. US welcomes Sudan power-sharing deal as an important step forward. African trade pacts start operations with 54 signatories. This was all held in the Niger's capital, Niamey. Agreed rules of origin, a digital payment system, online tool for listing products and tariffs, and a monitoring system to deal with non-trade barriers. Multi-year process, remove trade barriers, including tariffs, on 90% of commodities. Agreement now includes 54 signatories after Benin and Nigeria joined the accord on Sunday during the summit. In total, 27 countries, including Kenya, Ghana, Gambia, and Gabon, have ratified the pact that came into force in May 2019. Morocco said it will ratify within days. Nigeria is Africa's biggest economy and most populous country. Niger's President Mamadou Issoufou said in an interview from Niamey, without Nigeria, the free trade zone would have been handicapped. Trading with the slashed tariffs will start in July 2020 to give member states time to adopt the framework and prepare their business communities for the emerging market, said Albert Muchunga. We haven't yet agreed on rules of origin and tariff confessions, but the framework we have is enough to start trading on July the 1st, 2020. I participated in a program with Martine Dennis on Inside Story a few weeks ago, but I think the points are still relevant. Accra will host the AFCFTA Secretariat. This chart explains why the African Continental Free Trade Agreement could be a game changer, establishing a market of 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of $2.5 trillion. Africa has much catching up to do. Its intra-regional trade accounted for just 17% of exports in 2017, versus 59% in Asia and 69% in Europe. Celestine Monga, in particular, 5 trade measures could bring total gains worth 4.5% of Africa's GDP, or $134 billion a year. First is elimination of all bilateral tariffs. Second, country of origin rules. Third, non-tariff barriers. Fourth, WTO trade facilitation agreement should be implemented. Lastly, tariffs and non-tariff barriers applied to trade with other developing countries should be reduced by half on a most favored nation basis. Nigeria has officially joined the AFCFTA. This is President Buhari signing the agreement. One country that has not yet signed the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is seen in this map. Afreximbank says they're supporting the creation of an online payment platform for the AFCFTA, which will result in $5 billion of savings and transaction costs and will disperse $25 billion to support the agreement. Between 2020 and 2100, Africa's population is expected to increase from 1.3 billion to 4.3 billion. Ethiopia, 2 international telecom companies to join Ethiopian market by early 2020, State Minister of Finance told the local media. The government will retain 51% of the share, while 49% of the share will be taken by the winning companies. South African all shares up 9.2% year to date, dollar rand 14.2077, Egyptian pound 16.624, EGX 30s up 7.5% year to date, Nigeria all share down 6.87% year to date, Ghana Stock Exchange down 6.77% year to date. I was watching PBS NewsHour and they had a fantastic clip on Wakali Wood, which is Ugandan cinema. It starts from 9 minutes and 20 seconds. The Singita Private Reserve bordering the Serengeti in northern Tanzania boasts around 250 lions. That is the highest density in the world. David Yarrow,